That's the worst. Like a snake pretends to be Ratzon Hashem, and you're going to hide behind, this is...
Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rebbe Saf Aaron Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom Avracha. This week's parsha, Parshas Vayishlach, we know we have the famous encounter between Yaakov Avinu and Esav and his men. And right before that, there was a major fight between Yaakov and the angel, which Chazal tell us is the angel, the guardian angel of Esav. The whole night they were fighting until the morning when the angel finally gave up. And we know that our sages, Chazal tell us that this angel was the guardian angel of Esav. Because Yaakov defeated the angel, he was zoichet to have his name changed. The angel says, because you were able to beat the angel, your name will now be called Israel and not Yaakov, ki sagita em Elokim. You were able to overcome the fight with the angel. However, I want to allude to one very interesting idea, and that's question number one. If you look carefully at the dialogue between Yaakov and the angel, it's very interesting because the angel asks, please let me go because it's morning and I have to go back to heaven. Yaakov responds, I'm not releasing you until you give me a bracha. That's when the angel said what we quoted earlier, your name will not be called Yaakov anymore, but Israel. But here is where I want to point your attention to. At this point, Yaakov turns to the angel and asks, what is your name? And the response of the angel is very interesting. He doesn't say, I am not allowed to tell you my name, or I don't have a name. But rather, he says something interesting. And that is, why are you asking me what my name is? Which pretty much translates to, how will you benefit from knowing my name? Why is that the response of the angel? And why was Yaakov asking, what is your name? What's the relevance of that to us? What's the nafkamina? Question number two. We all know that although Yaakov defeated the angel, he did get injured in the area of the Gid Hanasheh, literally translated to the sinew on the ball of the thigh bone, which as we know, because Yaakov was hurt there, then the Torah tells us it's forbidden for us to eat that till this very day. And the question number two that I want to suggest is, what is the significance of that? Why did he injure him dafka in that area? And why is it forbidden for us to eat that? There must be some deep concept over here. Going back to our first question, what was the dialogue? What was the shakla and tala between the angel and Yaakov when Yaakov asked him for his name? And he told him, why would you want to know my name? Meaning, which really translates to, what's the point of you knowing my name? How are you going to benefit from that? It seems like Rashi alludes to these questions. Rashi explains that the angel's response is, because we are angels, we have no set names. Our names are dependent on the current mission on which we are being sent. But that still doesn't really fully answer our question. Because at the end of the day, at that point in time, when he was fighting Yaakov, surely he had a mission. So surely he had a name for that mission. Why did he not tell him the name? More than that, Chazal do tell us what the name was. The name was Samakel, which is the angel of Esav, which we continue to have to deal with him till this very day. In short, he is actually the instigator against the Jewish people. He is the embodiment of the Satan himself. So what's going on over here? And what's the answer to our questions? So I heard by the name of Rabbi Yisachar Fran an unbelievable idea that I think he said he heard from Rav Chaim Dov Keller, Rosh Yeshiva in Chicago. We all know that the name of something from a certain perspective defines it. In fact, I would like to add to that the Gemara in Brachos clearly says that the shem is goyim. When something has a name, whatever the name of something is, it affects the thing itself. And therefore, a lot of people consult with big mikubalim or big doilim before they give a name to a person because it has a huge effect on how on certain things about the person. In fact, open brackets, I want to share with you an idea I had, and I think it's very nice. I heard this from one of my rebbeim that, I don't know about you, but I personally, when I go to a certain hospital, I can't eat there. I don't know why. I feel like it's a hospital. But for some weird reason, there is one hospital. It's called Ma'aneh Yeshua in Bnei Brak. I do not get that feeling. And I actually can go to the area where they sell food and eat there. I never knew why, but I knew I had that feeling. And I have certain friends that said the same thing to me. Until I heard this idea that someone spoke about the effect of giving a name to something. And someone told me that the Gdoilei Ador at the time where the hospital in Bnei Brak, which is called Ma'aneh Yeshua, was set up, they ensured that it's not going to be called a hospital. A hospital in Hebrew is Bet Cholim, a house of the sick. So you can see that a name, a house of the sick, has an effect on the place that has this connectivity to sick people. They said, no, call it a Beit Havra'ah, a place where people become better. You're emphasizing getting better and not getting sick. Perhaps that is the effect, the spiritual effect on that place. And perhaps that's the reason I feel like that is because that's a ripple effect of the name they gave the place. I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no, but I wanted to share with you. Close brackets. Back to us, we see based on the Gemara Brachos that the name of something has an effect and in a certain way tells us the essence of the thing itself. And the Gemara goes on over there to give different examples. Rav Efal Hirsch compares the Hebrew word of the name also Shem, the name of something, with the Hebrew word of Sham, which means there. And that hints to the fact that a name defines an object because it kind of tells us where it's located, where it's at, spiritually speaking, and what the essence is. Based on this, perhaps we can understand what Yaakov was trying to ask the angel. Yaakov realized that this is a very symbolic battle. Him with Esav. Like Chazal tell us, it's always going to be like that. Yaakov and Esav, someone's going to be up and someone's going to be down. Le'om mile'om ye'ematz. There's always going to be this ongoing fight. And hence, Yaakov said, there's an idea called Maise Avois Siman Labanim. When we see things that our forefathers did, that's going to be a sign for us what's going to be in the future generation. So he said, wait a second. Let me know at least what we're up against. Tell me your name. What's your essence? I want to give it over to the next generations because the way you win the battle is first you have to know your enemy. You have to know what you're up against and then you can get better prepared. And the angel of Esav answers him exactly like we thought. What's the point of you knowing my name? It's true that perhaps right now I have a certain thing I'm doing, but our fight is going to be ongoing and it's going to be in various ways. It's not one name. There's no point in telling you one name. That's why the angel is saying it's not going to help you to know my name. The angel alluded to the fact that throughout the generations, he would be changing whatever it will be. Sometimes it will be Hellenism. Sometimes it will be socialism. It's going to come in different shapes and forms, which actually goes incredibly nicely with the Gemara in Chulin, Daf Tzadi Aleph Amud Aleph, 91a. Over there it says different opinions of what the Satan would look like. Sometimes one opinion said, Rav Nachman says he's going to look like like an idol worshiper. Rav Shmuel Bar Acha says he's going to look like a Talmud Chacham. There's different opinions. Perhaps they're not even arguing because it's going to come in different ways. The angel of Esav, Satan, that's going to try to get us away from Yiddishkeit is going to come in different permutations. It's not like we can just get ready for one certain battle. It's going to come in different shapes and forms. And actually, this goes beautifully with the tefillah we say every night. Vaser Satan milfaneinu ma'acharenu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help us fight the Satan, no matter where he comes from the front side or from the back side. What does that mean? My Mashgiach, Rav Diamant Shlita, told us always this vote, and he said, Haser Satan milfaneinu, that makes a lot of sense. The Satan, please Hashem, remove him from being in front of us. He's going to try to stop us from growing. But what does it mean, remove the Satan from the back of us? And he says, you never know. The Satan comes in different ways, shapes, and forms. He can easily come from the backside and push you. Yalla, move forward, do more mitzvahs, sleep less, learn more Torah. A lot of times that's also the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, pushing us too much, pushing us to do things that are not the right thing for Avodas Hashem. And therefore, that's perhaps symbolic of the idea of the opinion that says that Satan sometimes will come in the shape of a Talmud Chacham. It's going to be like, yeah, this is Hashem's will. That's the worst. When you're up against something you know is not Ratzon Hashem, it's easier to fight as opposed to something that's like a snake, pretends to be Ratzon Hashem, and you're going to hide behind, yeah, this is Ratzon Hashem. And that's why it's so important to have a friend that'll help you decide what is Ratzon Hashem and a Rav that knows you, etc., etc. So now we answered our first question. What was the dialogue between Yaakov and the angel? The dialogue was very good now, based on this idea. The dialogue was, Yaakov wanted to help his future generations. This is how you're going to fight against the Satan, the angel of Esav. And I want to know how. What's the secret recipe? What is he representing? What is his mission in life? And the angel answers him back, it's not going to help you. There's going to be different optical illusions. And you have to be ready and on guard that the fight will come from every angle. What about our second question? Our second question was, what's the uniqueness of the Gid Hanasheh? What's the symbolism? What is it symbolic of that the angel of Esav was able to hurt and injure Yaakov dafka in that area, the area of the Gid Hanasheh. So I haven't seen this written in any way, in any place, but I think it makes a lot of sense to say the following. I've seen different mahachim, but I want to suggest the following. Perhaps it symbolizes the following. The struggle between Yaakov and Esav serves as a metaphor for life's spiritual conflicts, meaning we know, this is a known thing, that the upper half of the body represents more important, more spiritual, for the lack of a better term, parts of our body. The heart, the brain, even the lungs. It's more important parts of the body. And hence, the upper body is more elevated. It represents spirituality. As opposed to, without getting into details, the lower half of the body is more physical, more gashmias. And hence, a lot of people have the minhag to put that thing around like a belt to disconnect between the two to ensure they're being more pure when they daven to Hashem. One of the most important thing in life, and that is what Yaakov represents, is not only to be spiritual, but way more than that. To elevate the physical into spirituality. Out of all the avos, Yaakov represented that. Although he started his way being Yoshev Ohalim, which is purely immersed in Torah. But at the end of the day, his father Yitzchak and HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrated that way that he'll take the job of Esav as well, which is physical, because he was able to elevate the physical. And we see that from that point in time, he wasn't just sitting and learning. He learned at the beginning to get the tools to live life. But then he went out and he had to deal with certain people such as Lavan, and he worked all the time, and he had to elevate the physical. And that's also why each one of the avos said a certain tefillah, but the tefillah of Yaakov is connected to bais. Bais represents not just learning Torah, but elevating the physical. What the malach of the angel of Esav tried to do is disconnect exactly in that area where we just discussed, between the upper body and lower body. He said, no, I want you to be physical. Keep the spiritual. You want to daven to Hashem, you want to do spiritual stuff. Okay, disconnect the spiritual from the physical. But also enjoy life, just like unfortunately, a lot of the commercials are. Just enjoy life and disconnect. Everything doesn't have to be spiritual, which is exactly the anti of what Yiddishkeit is all about, as Mesilas Yesharim says in the Akdama. Everything you enjoy, even physical in this world, has to be for a purpose of why Hashem put you here, which is to be Oved Hashem. And even if you need to go on a vacation so you have new koichos to do Ratzon Hashem, okay, but have in mind you're doing that. You go to sleep, have in mind you're doing that so you'll have kochot for the next day. You're eating for that. Nothing is just purely spiritual. If you do that, it's me'ilah. You're kind of stealing. Hashem didn't give that stuff in this long hallway of this world for that purpose. We're only here to do Torah and mitzvahs, to try to emulate Hashem's midot, and that is what life is all about. And that's exactly what Esav's angel, the Satan, is trying to do. Stop us from doing that. Not elevate the physical, just enjoy life. Waste our time enjoying life. And hence, he tried to hurt Yaakov, and he managed to hurt him right there. So we have to be careful because we are vulnerable in that exactly there. I just want to end off with a story that brings the point home. This story is brought from Haggadah Shel Pesach Hakshuki Chemed of Rav Zilberstein Shlita, and it's actually a pretty known story, and it goes like this. He actually brought the story in the context of saying that things look a certain way, and we don't really know anything why something is in a certain way or a different way, and a lot of times we feel bad for someone. We see he has a kid that it seems like he's not 100%, he has major issues, but really hiding behind that is a very, very kadosh person, a holy person, and they're very lucky. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose them to have this kid in their life. Al Kol Panim, I want to give the following example. And the reason I'm giving this story is you'll see within this story, you'll understand that there was something someone did wrong on their level. And that was an example of the Satan being in back of us, pushing us from a certain perspective to be even holier than thou. And that has a negative effect. And this story goes way back in the day of the Maharal Miprag. A woman came up to him Erev Shabbos with a chicken in her hands, and she said, please, can you tell me if this chicken is kosher or did it become treif? I don't know what to do. Straight away, the Maharal Miprag realized it was kosher. However, instead of telling her the psak halacha that was kosher and you could go cook it quickly for Shabbos tonight, like he always does, he said, go to the certain house, to the certain kid that's deaf and dumb, and give it to him and ask him to paskin for you. The woman said, what? Everyone knows. Since he was born, this kid hasn't said a word. I cannot believe he's telling me to do this. But it came out of a holy mouth, the Maharal Miprag, so I'm going to listen to him. So she didn't say anything. Like a good Jew, she went there and she asked the kid, the 9-year-old kid, that everyone knew in the city, in the village over there, that he's never opened his mouth. And she said, please, can you paskin for me? if this chicken is kosher or not. He looked at it and straight away says, kosher, it's kosher. 3 seconds later, he passed away. This huge maaseh became very popular in all the area, and the Maral realized he has to explain what happened over here. And he told everyone, he told the whole village to come together, and he told them, this kid is a Gilgul. His neshama came back down. What happened? He was a huge Talmid Chacham at Tzaddik Yesoid Oilam. And during his whole life, he learned Tita Teire, did Chesed. And right when he passed away, when he was about to go to Gan Eden, in the Shamayim they said, wait a second, really he deserves to go to Gan Eden. However, suddenly came the category, and he said, wait a second, there was one Erev Shabbos, literally very close to Shabbos, that a woman came to this Rav, who was a widow and had no money, with the question, is this chicken kosher? And because of the pressure of wanting to go into Shabbos properly and everything will be perfect, he didn't look closely enough in the chicken to see if it was kosher or not. And it's way easier, as we know, just to say something's not kosher. And he said it's not kosher. But really, Mishamayim, they saw it was kosher. As a result, this widow had a lot of pain because she didn't have any money. She didn't have a chicken for Shabbos. And as a result, and of course, we're talking about a very heilige Yid on his level, they want him, I'm assuming, to get a very, very top of the top piece in Gan Eden. So in order for him not to lose out on that, they said, we're sorry, but you need to go back down to the world, to do a tikkun, to fix and rectify what you did until such a situation will come up again. And then you'll be able to atone for what you have done, because we want you to come pure to Gan Eden, of course. The Rav was in shock. He said, what? I'm so scared. I have to go back down to a world that's not naturally fit for my neshama until I manage to pass and do so well, relatively speaking. I have to go down again. Who promises me I'll manage to pass the tests again? All the nisyonis of this world. Maybe I won't be able to do so well. As a result, Mishamayim, they understood what he said, and hence they decided, we'll put you away, you're right, so we'll put you back down in a way that you will not be able to fail in anything else, and you won't be able to do damage, but you'll only be able to rectify and paskin a chicken to be kosher. And so he was put down there in our world as deaf and dumb, and therefore he can't do anything wrong pretty much. Aside from when that chicken will come to him and he'll be able to say it's kosher, he'll rectify what he did. And that is what happened. We learned from this story. The story, really, I'm just bringing it for the point. It's a very good story to know, but to see that sometimes we always have to be balanced in life, and we have to realize and be me'uzan in a balanced way. What is Ratzon Hashem? It's not always running to be holier than thou, because that, in a lot of cases, not always, but a lot of cases, it's what's called chumra shebali de kula. You might be machmir and holier than thou in certain things, but at the end of the day, the ripple effect is that you're doing something bad somewhere else. In this case, ben adam lechaver. Have a good Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of The Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on The Prism of Torah.